Who comes to mind for you when you think of doing a portrait? Hi, I'm Carey Alvez, and I'm a drawing instructor for Visual Arts Mississauga. And for me, I always think of my personal relationships, and that's how the Mother Project got started. This subject wasn't entirely new. I had already explored the subject of doing my mother in other drawings and paintings before this. But this time I decided to take it a step further, and I really wanted to explore just the idea of mothers in my own family. I began digging through old family photos, and I ended up deciding on 4 women to start with. First of all, I decided to do my mother again, but also both of my grandmothers and my great-grandmother on my mother's side. I also decided to start with a simple black and white medium like charcoal. As I started these pieces, right away I noticed that doing this work was going to give me a chance to really explore and think about who each of these women really were for me in my life. And it was going to be about so much more than just doing a piece of artwork. The first image was of my mother, Jacqueline, when she was 22 years old. This was about a decade before I was actually even born. So it really gave me an opportunity to reflect on her in her early life and see her just through a different lens. The second image was of my grandmother on my father's side, and her name was Stella. This image was taken of her when she was about 16 years old and about the time that she was married. And she went on to have 11 children, and she ran a farm in Quebec, and she was really considered to be an absolute pillar and tower of strength in our family. The next woman was my great-grandmother on my mother's side, and her name was Gabriella. I never knew her. She died before I was born, but I remember my mother talking about her all the time as she lived with her when she was growing up. Gabriella was widowed when she was 32 years old, and she had 4 young children. And when I saw this photograph, it really, I could just see the sorrow and the heartache in her face and the hardship that she must have gone through. And it really made me want to connect with her and to understand her life a lot better. And the fourth woman was my grandmother on my mother's side, and her name was Edna, and she was a very interesting character. And I found that when I was working on this particular image of her, I really struggled with it for some reason. It was taking way too long, and it just wasn't coming together, and I found myself thinking about her a lot. And it was interesting because it's through her that I get the art. She was very gifted with her hands. She could do anything with her hands, and her father was actually a carver, wood carver, and used to work in that trade. And so I really felt an affinity with her, and I remember her as a child. She would come and she would always bring me little things and teach me how to make things, and she was just very sweet that way. And as I was doing this image and struggling with it, it made me realize that there was something about what I was experiencing that made me want to actually stop this image and let it go, and then actually revisit her as a person and explore her life much more deeply and do something unique and special with her particular image. So in the end, I tacked her photo up on my studio wall, and I decided this was the beginning of something a lot bigger than my original plan. I want to go back in through all our family albums and really explore her and her life and come up with something really special for her image that I could really put my heart into. When I'm teaching literally every single class, I have at least one student who walks in with an image of their mother and asks how to approach it. This desire to capture or immortalize or just somehow connect with them with our creative abilities or just somehow immortalize them, it seems to be a universal process. One of the great things about art is that it can actually provide us with a safe space to go and explore and connect with different areas of our life that are actually meaningful to us, such as whether it's nature or animals or our relationships or even ideas. And it can have great therapeutic benefits and an opportunity to reflect or explore or resolve or, handle different things in our inner world, which are very, very important to us. And quite often more important than the technical mastery of a particular discipline. I've also noticed that these types of artwork, when it's done by your hand about the people that you care about, these are the things that your children actually really, really cherish. It leaves a beautiful legacy for you and your family, and it just is an all-around great experience. So if doing a family portrait is something you've always wanted to do, or you'd just like to explore the medium of charcoal in portraiture, this next term I'll be teaching an online class with VAM called Vintage Portraits in Charcoal. Thanks for watching and look forward to seeing you in class.